Ever since the election, I've had 8 to 10 different people ask me when or if they should leave the United States. These are people who are immigrants, who are children of immigrants, and many members of the queer community who don't feel safe. It's very difficult for me to answer for a lot of different reasons. When I think about it from a historical perspective, a question that is always running through my mind is the United States truly becoming worse, or are we simply unveiling what the United States has always been? Because there is a long history of the United States using immigrants for their labor and then expulsion of immigrants when they are no longer considered necessary or when the opportunity benefits those in power. This goes as all the way far back as the Indian Removal Act of 1830. Other things too, such as the Palmer raids during the first Red Scare, Mexican repatriation, Japanese internment, and many other cases, also including other things like forced sterilization of Puerto Rican women in the 1950s. What's interesting, however, is that the advice I would give each of these groups is different based off of their circumstances. For instance, I would encourage Native Americans to fight back and try their best to defend their own land that was desired for its resources, because one of the tribes that did fight back, at great cost mind you, were the Seminoles of Florida, and they did manage to keep their land. When it comes to black Americans in the South, I would encourage them to move to the North for better opportunities for themselves and to help protect themselves from violence, even though race riots were not exclusive to the South. When it comes to people who are being accused of being socialists or anarchists during the Palmer raids, I would encourage them to deny it and act as if they were capitalists and maintain their beliefs in secret. When it comes to women who are being sterilized against their will in Puerto Rico, I would encourage education, reform, and peaceful protest against it. And right now, there are multiple attempts to explain what is happening to the United States. There's this one liberal narrative that what we are experiencing with Donald Trump is an extinction burst, a last-ditch attempt by the baby boomer generation to maintain power and superiority over the rest of the country. And I personally disagree with this, because the upper classes will transition wealth to the next upper class. This will not stop with Donald Trump. This is something that will continue over time, either covertly or overtly. Another narrative is that we are seeing either a kleptocracy or the rise of fascism in this country to protect corporate interests under capitalism, something that I'm more sympathetic to, in that we have a president right now that is attempting to control the people by using the minorities as a scapegoat in order to justify overreach of power. This is why the United States is often being compared to 1930s Germany. However, there's a lot to be understood about what Germany was like in the 1930s as opposed to what the United States is like today. ICE, for instance, right now is being compared to the Sturmabteilung of Germany, or the SA, the brown shirts, who would beat people up and prevent people from organizing. But what's interesting is that Germany, with a population of about 60 million during the 1930s, had a membership of the SA of about 4 million. And yet the United States, with a population of 340 million, is dealing with about, at most, 21,000 ICE agents, if even that. That's one of the reasons why I'm not quick to tell people to leave the country, because as large as the United States is, which prevents social change and systemic change from happening, that also benefits us in a way that it prevents the rise of certain malicious forms of government. But usually, what's so frustrating is that historically speaking, when you know it's time to leave for sure, it's a little bit too late. This is when there are heavy travel restrictions put in place, where it's difficult to get passports, where there are curfews, multiple checkpoints, and people are required to register onto certain databases. As for me personally, I have no interest in leaving the United States. I'm a son of the American Revolution. My family history goes all the way back to the 1700s in the United States, and so for that reason, I have no interest in leaving. But also, I think that it's wrong for me to personally leave when there are so many minorities or people who are more vulnerable than me who aren't able to leave and they are forced to stay here. I also believe that it won't be some singular politician or heroic figure that will change things for the better. It will be, at the end of the day, Americans who refuse to accept the world as it currently is, how the United States is. We don't have to accept how ICE is currently operating. We don't have to accept the fact that they are hiding and preventing investigations from taking place regarding the murder of Alex Preddy, as well as Renee Nicole Good. That is not a reality that we have to accept, nor should we. So my answer, in an almost facetious manner, is that I would continue living in this country if I even had to do it out of spite. I refuse to give it up just so that the most boring people can run it, and in many ways I believe that they don't have nearly as much power as they think that they do.